wonderful friends, it's Evelyn here. Welcome back to the channel. I hope that I find you all well. Personally, myself, I am almost fully recovered. I'm incredibly grateful to be able to say so. A huge thank you to our incredible NHS and to everyone that has looked after me so far on my journey. A million thank yous would never be enough, and I love and appreciate each and every one of you. This week, I'm finally able to show you that Esther swimsuit. I'm so excited to show you. It has been such warm weather here, and I'm really glad that I was able to create this swimsuit because it's meant an awful lot of hot tubbing. So, without further ado, my wonderful friends, firstly, hit that all-important subscribe button down below if you haven't yet. And secondly, let's get to some vintage style sewing. Luna is snuggled up all down here. I'll take some video to show you. Hi Luna. You okay, my darling? Are you sleepy? Sleepy girl today. Oh. Oh, it's time for a dog nap. As always with charm patterns, the pattern for the Esther swimsuit is excellently well drafted with many options for different variations for 50s inspired swimwear. Esther comes in many sizes in the biggest size range I've yet to find in vintage inspired patterns, so do not hesitate to check them out, my friends. Esther also comes in different cup sizes, giving even more size inclusivity, exactly what I've come to expect from Gertie and her fabulous team. I went for the PDF version and set about printing out all those pages. And then it was time to get cutting and sticking, which was a nice job for sitting with Luna in the garden while attempting to relax, something which I'm honestly terrible at, my friends. If swimwear is something that you would like to give a go yourself, my friends, but you're feeling a little bit daunted at the prospect, be sure to check out my recent video on retro swimwear favourites. There's a card above. A little tip here also, if you're ever cutting out a PDF pattern like this and you're wondering which portion of the page you're supposed to keep, the notch marks will always appear on the inside of the pattern piece, so that's the part that you're meant to keep. You're welcome. And after much chopping and sticking, you get this. Then it's time to lay those pieces out on your fabric and get cutting. A word of warning here, there are a lot of pattern pieces in the Esther swimsuit. Even with the simple panty version that I'm creating here, there were 45 pattern pieces needing to be cut out from a total of 4 different fabrics. The outer fashion fabric, the power mesh underlining, the back panty lining fabric, and the foam that makes the created bra cups. Hopefully, this will all prove to be worth it. There is one alteration that I made to the pattern. Right now, my body is hating anything other than fabric being against it, so clasps on garments or exposed zips are definitely a no-no right now. So I simply extended piece 5, the bra back, as you can see here, to create a tie back so I don't have to use a clasp. I'm also going to create this Esther without any boning in the sides, just in the bra cups. And I'm also using plastic boning rather than steel to minimise any possible discomfort. Sorted. The first thing that I needed to do was baste all the underlining and lining layers to the fashion fabric using a wide zigzag. A top tip here, my friends, have a couple of bobbins full and ready waiting for you, because this step takes some time and a lot of thread, as you can see here. Lots of basting later, it was time to start with the bodice front pieces, pinning them at the side front seams and stitching together. Then the upper bust pieces are attached along the top of the two bodice pieces, and I could already see it starting to take shape. Next, the centre front seam. I decided to skip top stitching the seams on this Esther this time. This effectively is my wearable mock-up, and I'm still not 100% through my recovery, and sitting still and working on one activity for long periods of time can cause me discomfort, so this seems like a perfect way to save some of those sewing bucks. The internal bra was the next task, beginning with the outer layer, pinning and sewing the lower cups together. Then joining them at centre front. Then it was time for the foam bra. Now, even though I've been sewing for over 3 decades, there are still things I've never done, and sewing foam is one of them. My machine was having none of it at first, but after a few stitch and tension adjustments, it finally stopped saying no. And by the time I hit that centre front seam, I think I had it pretty much down. Using some simple bias tape, I then created some boning channels before inserting some of these little plastic boning pieces. I would love to make a proper steel boned Esther in the future. Here's hoping. The foam bra section is then attached to the outer bra layer, and you can really see now how this internal bra will help create the shape of the bust in this swimsuit. Adding elastic to the bottom, the internal bra is now complete. Pinning and stitching in place, the bra is sewn into the bodice front along the upper edge, and the bodice front is finished. Now onto the back of my Esther. For the tie-back straps I created, the pieces are placed right sides together and sewn all around, leaving the side seam edge open before seam allowances are trimmed and the piece is turned right side out and nicely pressed. At the same time, I constructed the fitted neck strap, folding it in half lengthways, sewing all along one side and along the length, leaving one side open to allow me to turn it before slip stitching closed. I've been thinking about the possibility of making this strap removable. I do have a few ideas, so stay tuned. The pieces for the lower back of the suit are placed right sides together and sewn along the uppermost edge. Before those seam allowances are trimmed, it's time to turn it right side out and the remaining sides are basted together. Then it's time for those hooks and eyes. For me, this was the trickiest part of the sewing. Take your time here, my friends. Use that hand wheel on your machine and don your protective eyewear. The hook and eye guard is then created by folding the piece in half lengthways, stitching top and bottom. The piece is then trimmed before being turned right side out and the open edge basted closed. It's then stitched to the eye side of the closure and the hand sewing to create an invisible closure commences. I think the construction of this is so genius and I loved seeing it come together. I'm honestly so happy to be able to get back to sewing now and see something that I've made go from a sheet of fabric to something that, fingers crossed, I'm going to love to wear. Sewing really is my therapy, my friends, and I've missed it so much. Phew, getting a little bit emotional here. Anyway, let's get back to that sewing. With those back pieces complete, it's time to pin and then stitch them to the front bodice at the side seams. Then stitching the internal bra to the bodice front at the side seams to encase the back pieces for a lovely neat finish. Right, so remember a while back I said I was thinking about making that halter strap removable? Well, I did just that. Grabbing the strap, I began by hand sewing a button on each end. Taking the bra section of my swimsuit, I worked out where I wanted the halter straps to fit and created machine buttonholes to fit the buttons at either side like so. And I'm not going to lie, I might be a little impressed with myself. On to the panties. That word makes me laugh. I can't. So childish, but I cannot help it. The panty front is underlined in power mesh, whereas the back panty is underlined in lining fabric. The two back pieces are joined at the centre back seam. The panty front and back are then sewn together at those side seams. Elastic is then sewn into the legs of the panty. Before the crotch seam is sewn and then trimmed. Now it's time to attach the bottoms to our suit. And believe it or not, my friends, that is my very first swimsuit pattern sewn. Let's hit that reveal. Well, my friends, I cannot begin to tell you how happy I am with this created Esther swimsuit. Please, if you haven't done so, go and check out Charm Patterns. I promise you will not be disappointed. I am so glad to be back to sewing, and when I get results like this, I remember that this truly is my therapy and that sewing really has been such a lifesaver for me this year in particular. If you like the look of the turban I'm sporting here, then you can make one of your own right here on the channel, card above, which could come in handy next week, my friends, when we make even more swimwear. Stay tuned. Thank you all so much for continuing to support this little creativity corner of the internet. And broken record time, if you haven't done so already, please do comment below. Let me know what you're creating currently. I love to connect with all of you. And please do hit that all important subscribe button. Let's get me to 800 subscribers. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.